right, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching us across the state in Nigeria. I say again that the function of the electorate in a governed system to promote knowledge of sound democratic election processes is very important, and to conduct, and will I say, the referendum required to be conducted pursuant to provision of the 1999 Constitution is quite important, and any other law and act of the Nation Assembly is also very important. It's good for me to emphasize on that. Again, I say welcome to another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike. I remain your convener, Kike Lomaton. And of course, I have the Real Talkers on the platform. Yeah, they came in very early. Let me say that. To my house husband. Oh God, that cologne was really nice. You were just, I was like this. Marshall, how you doing? You remain my house husband on this side. And I have every right to, flirt.
Okay, I'm flattered. I'm flattered. Just before the show, Kike said, "Wait till happen."
It took me by surprise. I said, "You spoke pidgin." I mean,
I can't be ghetto like that sometimes. Can't be.
I think we like your ghetto. We like you ghetto.
Posh
like
ghetto.
I'm telling you.
So Banana Island ghetto.
Kike, you look splendid. You look beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. And you too.
Thank you. I know you'll be telling us more about what you're wearing on your neck in due course and time.
Yes. Yes.
You look very beautiful.
And I think we all have a tint of red. I've been looking like, how come? It's red here, it's red here, and this looks like red.
I think so.
Well, if you're just watching us, if you're just joining us, we're wondering where you're watching us from. If the weather is the same, it's raining down here where we are in Victoria Island, Lagos. My name is Marshall Anson Honor. It's the RTWK show, promising to be very interesting today. Welcome.
Okay, welcome on the show again. It's another beautiful Tuesday from wherever you're having the privilege to see us. Well, my name is Damlola Banire. Please find something to sit with us and enjoy the ride.
Oh, fantastic intro from that. All right, ocean surge in Yeye community in Brutal local government area of Delta State occurred on this day, exactly 2010. I think 12 years ago to be precise. Let's get to hear one of the historical events in Nigerian history. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with us. As Nigerians get closer to the main general election to decide who our leaders will be in 2023, the electorate faces even goes further or steps further with challenges in the southern eastern part of the country. At about 11:48 p.m. on Sunday, 3rd of July 2022, there was an attack on the INEC office at Igbozi North local government area. I hope I pronounced that properly. Where the entire premises was set ablaze by unknown fire gunmen and all of that. The attack coming in the middle of the voters registration exercise and other preparation for 2023 general election is worrisome. And as we all know, we will recall that on the 23rd May 2021, an office in neighboring Igbozi South local government area was also attacked in a similar manner by unknown gunmen, so to speak. I don't know when the unknown gunmen will end, but on the show today, we will be critically discussing the challenges of the electorate in the southern east part of the country where gunmen crises have been hindrance and a problem for the rule of law and of course, particularly for INEC in the discharge and delivery of electoral obligation. To discuss this with us, we have the respected stakeholder and a top authority at INEC. Let's get his profile before we engage him on our virtual platform. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Multina, share happiness.
All right, welcome to the show, Dr. Okoye. It's a pleasure to have you on the live talk show this afternoon. And again, many thanks for heeding to my call when it comes to critical matters that affect the electorate. And of course, I know that you're in Ife at the moment. And I must say, I really appreciate you creating time to join us today. I know you're watching us from one of your cars, the buses. How are you doing today, sir? Many thanks for creating time to join us today.
The audio.
Can you hear me?
I can hear.
All right, fantastic. All right. Sir, just going straight to the topic at hand, because I know that there's a lot happening at your end at the moment. My first question to you right now is the fact that the fire riser, so to speak, for lack of a better word, that I was struggling to come up with, destroyed over 748 ballot boxes and 240 voting cubicles in the attack. And this is a major setback, if you ask me, when it comes to deployment of critical infrastructure of the electorate. So my question to you now, sir, is how is the electorate, containing the continuous damage, and how do you intend to recover from this infrastructure deficit?
Well, this is really a major setback in the electoral process. We thought that we had seen the last of these attacks on our critical assets, critical electoral materials. So I want to say that this is really a major setback because we thought that we had recovered sufficiently from some of these attacks. This is because, if you recall, our office in Enugu was attacked and some local government offices were attacked. But in the last 6 months, there has been a lull in these attacks. So we thought we had recovered. We really want to believe and we really want to hope that this present attack is just an isolated incident and that it is not going to continue. This is because these ballot boxes and these cubicles, they take time to procure. And we are also worried that we have over 3,000 ballot permanent voters cards in one of the fireproof cabinets in the office, and we also have some IVED machines with which we conduct the registration of voters. We only hope that the fireproof cabinet save some of these critical materials. But I want to say that it is really a major setback, and also a setback for the people who have started trooping out to come and register for the 2023 general election. But we want to believe that this is an isolated event, it's an isolated incident, and that it is not going to continue.
Okay, sir, from my own end, I would like to know if we're saying that recently in the last 6 months, in fact, we have noticed that it has become somewhat of a deliberate action. It looks more deliberate because when the election is about approaching, that's where we find incessant fire outbreaks, and it looks to me like probably it's orchestrated somehow. Do you think it could be politically inclined, or is just nature?
There are three classes of fire incidents that we have noticed in relation to our facilities and critical assets. There are some incidents that took place during the NSAS protest. There are also some incidents that normally take place immediately after the conduct of an election, when some political parties or some individuals or some candidates are aggrieved. And then there's the issue relating to the current state of insecurity we have, especially in the southeast part of the country. But you know, in the last a few months, we've not recorded any serious incident. And then in the last few months, people have started recovering and trooping out to go and register for their permanent voters cards to enable them vote in the 2023 general election. In some of the local governments in Imo, in Osun local government, in Njaba local government, and some other ones, we even suspended the registration of voters in those local governments on account of insecurity, and also in some parts of Anambra State. But I think that this one in Enugu, we really want to hope and believe that it is isolated and that it is not going to continue, because we need some of this equipment. We need these equipments for the conduct of the 2023 general election, and we cannot start going into the market to go and buy cubicles and also go and buy ballot boxes and so on and so forth, because some of these things are customized to the Independent National Electoral Commission, and they take time to procure. So we want to rely on the security agencies to get to the bottom of this particular incident, and hopefully it is an isolated one that will not continue.
For me, sir, my question will border on security as to, one, if there has been any arrest made so far, and then two, what arrangements are being made to ensure that there is, to forestall this kind of occurrences, especially during the elections. If we're having such an arson carried out on your property and electoral materials, one is left to imagine if the worst could happen during the election. So what kind of arrangement are you aware of that INEC is making to ensure that there is adequate security on your property?
Well, on your first question, whether any arrests have been made, this incident occurred on Sunday. We are not certain whether any arrest has been made, but the police they are on it. They are assessing the situation, and hopefully they will give us a report on what they are doing and what has been done in relation to this attack. Secondly, based on the level of attacks that we experienced in some of our local government offices, we decided to move our critical materials in terms of the beavers, in terms of all those critical materials that we need for the conduct of election out of the various local governments. And we kept them in safe places because some of them are not easy to procure. And some of them, it takes almost 6 months to procure. But in relation to what has happened, you see, we are conducting the continuous voter registration exercise, and we need the IVED in the local governments. Also, we need to distribute cards for those who registered during the first and second quarter of registration. So that is why we have some of these things in those local government offices. Unfortunately, we cannot, in good conscience, tell what has happened to some of them at this point in time.
All right, many thanks for that submission. I think I have 2 questions for you, but one of the questions is just a follow-up question to what Marshall asked you, just to elaborate further on it, because I know that no fewer than 175 persons, including soldiers, police, and of course civilians, have lost their lives in the southeast within the last 6 months, or over a spite of 72 attacks in 2021, to be precise. But again, insecurity is a problem, just like my colleague asked now, that the government is finding hard to nip in the bud. How do we hope to see people come out to vote in the coming election? Because I feel that was what he was trying to emphasize more on. And what guarantees the safety of INEC officials in the states? Because if the people have challenges in coming out to come and, you know, carry out that civil responsibility, I wonder what is how the INEC is also safe in all of this. That is the first question I'm asking. And the second question, just to based on this same conversation, is the fact that over the last few years, you know, the attack on INEC officers have been seen as an attack against democracy. That's my opinion, or will I say demonstration of southeastern sentiment by IPOB, you know. And in Enugu, the location of the recent incident is the home of the political bigwigs like Senator Kike Ekwemadu and all of that. We have quite a number of them that are from that state. What are your views on this continuous attack in Enugu?
Well, let me say this. The conduct of a credible, free, fair, and inclusive election is a multi-stakeholder venture. In relation to our own processes and our procedures, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as well as the Electoral Act 2022, has given the Commission the mandate to organize, undertake, and supervise election. The task of providing security for election materials, election personnel, and the voters has been reserved for the various security agencies under the lead of the Nigerian Police Force. We have had series of meetings with the various security agencies under the auspices of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. And we have impressed it on them that this is the time to neutralize security threats and security challenges to the 2023 Nigerian election, to enable people to have the confidence that they can come out and go and vote and nothing untoward will happen to them. And the security agencies have assured us that they have the capacity and that they have the personnel and they have the wherewithal to degrade as much as possible some of these security threats and challenges, especially in the southeast. Let me also say this, that the context and the complexion of the security challenges we have differs from one state to the other, differs from one community to the other, and also differs from one location to the other. You cannot put all of them in one basket and color them the same. The security challenges we have in Zamfara is completely different from the type of security challenge we have in the southeast. Different from the security challenges we have in places like Borno and so on and so forth. So the context and complexion and the complexities are completely different. But I want to believe that all of us have a responsibility and make sure that we return the country to a certain level of peace and a certain level of stability that will enable the Independent National Electoral Commission to conduct a good election. Is the attack on INEC facilities attack on democracy? I believe that what INEC facilities represent critical national assets that are critical for the conduct of election and also critical for the survival of democracy and the continuity of the electoral process. So an attack on the facilities of the Independent National Electoral Commission means that we cannot proceed with electoral activities in those areas. But I want to hope and believe that these are some of the challenges a nation that is in transition faces, and that all hands will be on deck. All the political leaders will be on top of the situation, and the security agencies will be on top of the situation to enable us to conduct free, fair, transparent, and inclusive elections, and also safe elections in 2023.
Many thanks for that submission. We'll go on a quick break to get a word from our sponsors. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Multina, share happiness.
We started our journey over 7 years ago, connecting travelers to their favorite destinations.
Since then, we have revolutionized how we want our passengers to feel while flying.
That is why we've introduced our brand new Embraer 195 into aircraft. We are on a mission to add new destinations to our ever-increasing fleet.
Our Boeing 777 will take you on an international journey. Mumbai, Guangzhou, London, Johannesburg.
And now, Airpeace is adding a new destination.
On the 1st of March, Airpeace will begin a new adventure to a brand new destination. Join us as we celebrate our first flight to Dubai International Airport.
Airpeace flies you from all our domestic routes to Dubai from Lagos at no additional cost.
All right, many thanks for staying with us. In case you just joined the show, today's conversation is about the crisis of the gunmen and hoodlums attack on INEC officials in the southeastern part of the country. And according to Punch reports, no fewer than 175 persons, including soldiers, policemen, and of course civilians have lost their lives in the southeast under 72 attacks in 2021. And we have been having real talk on the issues and of course the implication of INEC with Dr. Festus Okoye, that's the chairman of Information and Voters Educational Committee. And I say many thanks for all your submission thus far, Dr. Okoye. Let me quickly open our phone lines for those who want to be part of this conversation. Remember, the phone number to call is 08098877400, showing on your screen right now. And we're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube page, both on Silverbird and Real Talk with Kike platform. Sir, with all that you've shared thus far, I recall that the state government had recently imposed a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew and banned commercial motorcycle cyclists, in the Igweze north and its neighboring communities, so to speak. What are the supports, from the federal and both states that are being received by INEC in order to beef up security issues, troubled regions like this? Because I know that there are quite a number of insecurity, not just in Enugu State, that has been attacked on INEC. It's just like what you've emphasized thus far, that it's not just Enugu alone, but it's peculiar to other states based on the regions. What are your take on this, and what are you doing in synergy with this?
Well, the Commission has received tremendous support from the various communities where our offices are located, and also from the various state governments. In some of the communities, after some of the challenges we had, after the NSAS protests, after our offices were bought in election-related matters, and also after our offices were destroyed by unknown government, some of the communities offered to rebuild our facilities and our offices. In some of the states, and local governments, the state government took it upon themselves, or the state governments took it upon themselves to rebuild some of these offices. And this has occurred both in the north, in the southwest, in the southeast, and even in the south of the country. So I think that we have received tremendous support, especially from the various communities and from the various state governments. But we also believe that the various security agencies need to do more in protecting the facilities of the Independent National Electoral Commission, because these are critical national assets that are needed for the continuity of democracy in the country and the continuity of the electoral process. And so we have received tremendous support, but I think that more needs to be done to secure the electoral environment, to make it possible for our staff to be confident to go out and register prospective voters, and also for the voters themselves to be confident to come out and collect their permanent voters cards, and at the end of the day show up on election day and cast their votes without anything untoward happening to them. So I think that a lot more needs to be done. But the various state governments, the various communities are also doing their best to make sure that we return to some level of peace that will guarantee the conduct of a good election.
Many thanks for your submission. We have Samuel from Edo State. Samuel, many thanks for calling. What's your contribution on the topic at hand? Please go straight to the point.
Comparing what is happening right now in all over the country, you will agree with me that so many things are actually going wrong. Okay. Recently now, we just heard that the INEC offices have been torn, and we are preparing for the election of 2023. It goes to show that these people that are dubious, they are not really ready for this election. And you can also believe and agree with me that we in the South are not happy, even in the Southeast and in the South North. You can see how the terrorists have been troubling and, invading and destroying innocent lives and the men of God. So I want to say from this very point of view that they should please find solutions to this very matter. That is my take this afternoon. Thank you and God bless you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so as the Dr. Festus, as the chairman of the Information and Voters Education Committee, I'd like to pick your brain on what you think is the possible increase at this moment, because I know that in the last 4 years and 8 years respectively of going to vote, I know that the outturn of voters' card, voter registration and collections have been lower compared to this year. It seems like there's a lot of outburst and it's even overwhelming for INEC in general in the whole nation. Can you give us an insight of what the increase looks like from what INEC had planned about doing on the voters' card collection?
The Independent National Electoral Commission rolled out the continuous voter registration exercise on the 28th day of June 2021. That was when we launched the online pre-registration for new voters. Then in July 2021, we rolled out the physical registration for both for new voters and also those who want to do transfer, those who have damaged PVCs or those who have PVCs defaced. And we rolled this thing out and spread it out over a period of 1 year to enable people stroll into any of our local government offices or any of our state offices or even any of our registration area centers and then register or do any of the or utilize any of the services we were offering. But unfortunately, in some of the local governments, in some of the registration areas and our state offices, sometimes our registration officers register a single individual a day. But in the last 3 weeks or so, when we announced that the voters registration process was going to end, then we saw a deluge. We saw a surge in terms of people who are coming out to come and register. But we have taken care of that. We deployed additional machines. We deployed additional personnel to all these areas. And we have put in measures to enable more people to register without going through pain. But I want to say also that I think that the surge this time around is slightly unprecedented. And it shows from our own perspective. One, it shows that people are re-engaging with the electoral process. It also shows that people have confidence that there's a possibility, and I'm using the word possibility advisedly, that there's a possibility that they can go and vote and their votes will be made to count. More ministers are also looking at the creative and innovative technological solutions we have brought to bear on the electoral process. And some of these technological solutions have obviated pernicious human interference in the electoral process. And moreover, the youth believe, and I've interacted with some of them, they believe that the time has come when they really need to take their destiny into their own hands. Rather than staying away from the electoral process, they now want to engage the electoral process. They now want to be involved in the electoral process, and they want to show up on election day. And that's why you are recording this surge and this unprecedented run. And we as an electoral management body, we believe that it is part of democracy, and we are encouraging people to come out and register, but not only coming out to register, but also to show up and collect their permanent voters cards, not only showing up to collect their permanent voters cards, but also to show up on election day. That is the only way we can consolidate democracy. That is the only way we can show that we're a nation that values democracy and the electoral process. And that's the only way we can make a determination on who governs us going forward.
Also, to follow up on that, I know that also there's been an extension of the closure of the registration and collection of permanent voters card. But I'm also thinking for some of our youths that are children, maybe say young adults now, that are about 17 plus in few months' time and will turn 18, probably by August, September, October, November. Are there still chances for them to register with this batch to vote for 2023, or they have to wait for 4 years' time?
Well, any individual that turns 18 before we close the voters registration process is entitled to register. Thereafter, we have to stop the voters registration, do what we call claims and objections, and then thereafter, we are going to subject the voters register to deduplication, to remove multiple and double registrants. And then thereafter, we have to print the permanent voters cards, make them available to the 774 local government areas, make them available to the 8,809 registration areas for purposes of collection, and then get people ready for the conduct of the 2023 election.
Many thanks for that submission. We have Benjamin calling from Lagos. Benjamin, what's your contribution on the topic at hand? Please go straight to the point.
Good afternoon once again.
Good afternoon.
Last election, I was in Osun State to got my voter's card, and I was told my system crashed, so I was unable to vote. Now, this same time again, I went to Osun last 2 weeks just to make sure that I registered. Now I'm seeing on screen that the same office has been burnt to ashes. So how will I and my family be able to vote in this coming election? Is my question now.
Okay. Doctor, I don't know if you got Benjamin's question, so you could answer. He's wondering if he's going to be disenfranchised in the coming election because the materials have been burnt in his own state. You want to respond to that?
Which materials were burnt in his own state? Is it his permanent voter's card or what?
I believe.
In Osun State. His location is in Osun.
Yeah, Osun State. And the materials have been burnt.
Which materials? Because presently I'm in Osun State. I don't understand. Is it his permanent voters cards that got burnt? His permanent voters card that got burnt, or what got burnt?
I advise Benjamin to visit any of the INEC office and then get that sorted out, because we equally on this set do not have any information as regards to Osun State and what's happening. But my question for you, sir, would be, you want to call it a double barrel, if you may, because it's in two folds. Follow up to Dami's question regarding those that are just turning adults in a few days' time and then getting to register. And it's funny to hear that there's been agitation and advocacy for the voter registration to be a continuous exercise like you would find in other civilized climes. I do know that there are other exercises that INEC would need to carry out, like you've talked about claims and all of that. But we find it difficult to wrap our heads around why it cannot be a continuous exercise like in other climes. And then Nigerians are known, or rather in this side of the world, we are usually known to put the cart before the horse. I'm wondering why there seems to be a lack of synergy between organizations or agencies like INEC and the National Orientation Agency, where there is a need to create an awareness to the people. We usually saw voter apathy in the southeastern side based on the agitations for secession. And now that we have such interest by the people from this region, one would wonder, why isn't there enough orientation to make that interest stick?
Well, on your first issue, what we have in the law as of today is continuous registration of voters. If you recall, before the 2019 general election, we had registered over 84 million Nigerians. So we have the data of over 84 million Nigerians already registered. This exercise is for those who have never ever voted before, and who have never ever registered before, and those who have just turned 18. And so those are the ones who are qualified to register at this point in time. And then we're also making it available for those who want to do transfer, those who have lost their PVCs, and those whose PVCs are defaced. But the law, if you look at section 19, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022, it provides that the commission shall display the register of voters for claims and objections within a period of 7 days, not later than 90 days to the conduct of an election. And then if you also look at section 9, subsection 6, it says that we should stop everything relating to registration of voters 90 days to an election. So the implication is that since the law says that we should stop not later than, it means that the lawmakers presume that and want us to stop earlier than 90 days to the conduct of election to enable us clean up the voters register and make the permanent voters card available to people. And that's exactly what we are doing. And it has to be cut off within a period of time. We are collaborating with all organizations that create awareness. We collaborate with civil society groups and organizations. We have a collaboration with the National Orientation Agency. We are collaborating with the political parties and every individual and every group and every organization that can mobilize voters and also create awareness. And so that's exactly what we are doing in the southeast of the country. And the enthusiasm and the awareness has been great. And that's why you see this surge at the level of registration. And we have deployed additional equipment, additional private machines, additional thermal printers, and also additional fingerprint scanners to the southeast. And we believe that we are going to register everybody who wants to register.
All right, many thanks thus far for all your submission. I think this might be the last question on the platform because I understand that, you are busy at your hand, and we appreciate the fact that you created time to join us via virtual lines. But quickly, sir, moving away from the main story into the general affairs of the electorate. Yes, in Osun State, and I know that Osun State's gubernatorial election is next, and reports said that the Ekiti election was satisfactory, despite few challenges, despite people still, grumbling that, they were cheated upon or whatever, putting that aside, what are the plans for Osun State's governorship election that is coming up in the next few days?
We believe that we have put in enough processes and procedures to guarantee free, fair, transparent, and inclusive election in Osun State. Osun is a bigger field than Ekiti because Ekiti has a total of 16 local governments, while Osun State has a total of 30 local governments. Osun State also has a total of 332 registration areas, and the total number of registered voters in Osun State is just slightly below 2 million. So it's a bigger field. We visited 5 local government areas yesterday with the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. We have done mock accreditation in so many of the local governments. We have visited our offices in terms of readiness assessment. And most of our offices, they are 98% ready for the conduct of this election. Presently, we are the palace of the Ooni of Ife, with all the traditional rulers, rulers in Osun State, and we are holding consultation with them in terms of the role they need to play in ensuring peace and stability in the state. So we believe that we are ready for the election, and even if the election is tomorrow or next, we are ready. People are trooping into our local government offices to go and collect their permanent voters' cards. And the chairman has just announced to the traditional rulers present that the distribution of cards will be decentralized and that we go on up till Thursday, just before the election. And so we are confident in our processes, and we are confident that we have everything.
All right. Many thanks, Dr. Festus Okoye, for creating time to be on the show today. It's been an interesting time with you on Real Talk with Kike. On this note, we'll let you be for you to enjoy your day, basically. Many thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I want to thank you for the work you people do for the people of this country, and for the level of awareness that has been created in relation to the continuous voters registration exercise, and also in relation to the coming 2023 Nigeria election. And I believe that it is this type of awareness and this type of enlightenment that has led to many of our youth getting interested in getting to register, and also promising that they are going to show up on election day. And I think that it is good for our country and also good for our democracy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. All right, we'll go on a quick break and get a word from our sponsors. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
I used to care for the world's opinion. I used to fear their rejection. used to beg for validation, and I used to wait to be seen. But the fire that burned in me was hotter, and the passion that lived in me had a voice of its own. So I stopped waiting and started to act. I stopped fearing and started to live. And when they thought I'd fail, I stepped into my power.
Because my time is now.
I'm still Malta. Be your best.
All right, many thanks for staying with us. Of course, this is the last segment of the show, and we are talking about the trending stories that bind us together. Like Masha likes to call it, stories that interest us as Nigerians. And the first trending story that caught our attention, I think this story was actually all over the place. Even when I'm scrolling on social media, I just get tired because I've watched the video over and over again. It's the Tithing controversy. That's the pastor Creflo, you know, Creflo dollars reversal on his books, on Tithings and the likes and all of that. Quickly, Masha, let me come to you. What's your take on this story?
So I was trying to catch up on that.
You know what? Before you give your submission, let's watch the video for those who have not had the opportunity to watch it. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
But I will say that I have no shame at all at saying to you, throw away every book, every tape, and every video I ever did on the subject of tithing, unless it lines up with this. I've done some corrective teaching in the last 10 years, but not to the degree of what we're getting ready to do now. So why is this important? Because religion is sustained by two factors: fear and guilt. And if it's one subject that the church has used for a long time to keep people in fear and guilt, it is in that subject of tithing. And it has to be corrected, and it's got to be corrected now.
I think for me, listening to the video, you know, Marshall, I can't help but say that I think it applies to all of us more in this part of the world, because religion is truly, you know, driven by guilt and fear. Yeah. And I feel that, you know, we live in a sentimental environment, so to speak, where we've attached religion to most of our actions. So this hits me deep, you know, into my own belief system and also our culture and our ideology. You know, it's a pity, and I'm sorry that quite a number of our pastors, you know, have used the teaching to exploit and extort us, so to speak. For example, whenever, let me use myself as an example, you know, whenever there is an unfortunate incident like accidents, let me give you an example. For instance, I have not had an accident with my car for over 2 decades, as in over 20 years, you know, that I've been on the road, since I've known my left from right, that I was in university, that my father bought me my first car, and nobody has ever driven my car and had an accident. But in recent time, Masha, Dami, my car had an accident. I was not the one behind the wheel. It was my driver behind the wheel. But the question is, I started applying it to all sorts. Could it be that because I've not paid my tithe? Immediately the following day, I quickly paid my tithe, that I've not paid for 7 months. I quickly cleared it. I started thinking, oh, is it because I've not actually paid my grandma, the woman who raised me? I've not paid her a visit on her burial ground. Could it be the reason why I added all sorts? My dear brother, if anybody, if I'm in traffic and anybody who cares to knock on my do like this. Sometimes most of the time I do it, but there are times you just say, how many people do you want to actually give out to? But during that period, Masha, everybody who cares to do like this, I said, you know, and I feel that it's actually because of the culture, the how we've placed all sort of, will I say, what's the word now, sentiments over issues, you know, and when it also comes to a woman who is barren, let me use that as an example to link it to what Pastor Creflo Dollar also emphasized on. You know, you see a woman who is barren, start saying the baby is the evil people in the family and so on and so forth. You know, there are all these
without
teachings.
bothering with medical
Exactly, there are all
diagnosis.
these preaching teachings that pastors put out there that subconsciously we embrace it because of our environment, because we are people who are driven by sentimental, religious
by coercion.
issues. I also feel, and I'm happy that Pastor Creflo Dollar has seen the truth and is not actually holding back. Many men of God, so to speak, today might not have the courage to get on that pulpit to say that, you know what. And I like one of the messages. I know we couldn't play the video all the way. There was one of these messages that said that right now I'm going to be losing a lot of friends, but it doesn't matter at the moment. I've been losing friends anyway, and that is exactly what happens sometimes when we as individuals hold on to the truth because we do not want to lose certain opportunities, lose friends. And I feel that this preaches according to the true gospel. I feel that we should stop all the brainwashing, and the so-called pastors have to be very, very conscious of the kind of teachings they preach. And many people have also taken to pastors as well. That many homes, you see that some wives, if they do not hear from their pastors, they cannot do certain things. And the reason why we face some of the challenges we are facing in matrimonial homes now. Also, I also feel that, I know that the likes of Daddy Freeze as well has actually shown light on tithing. And I feel that, these are where sometimes we have to put our sentiments, believe aside, and listen to people who have actually read the scriptures to educate us, to unlearn certain sentiment that they've put out there that we have embraced subconsciously. I think lastly for me is the fact that however we look at it, the interpretation of the Bible, it's time for us as individuals to actually carry the Bible and learn one or two things, so that when your pastor is actually on the podium or wherever you find yourself, you see, all I'm saying to you is that my message to people: carry the book and actually interpret the scriptures of God without waiting for your pastor to educate you. That way, you will see it as a storybook. So that way you'll be able to relate to quite a number of things instead of waiting. Exactly. We have a lot of understanding and unlearning that we need to do right now when it comes to the scripture of the Bible.
I think for me on the issue of, I think there's a lot of sentiments around religion, both whatever religions that we practice. And I would also always refer to the book of Genesis, the first chapter that said, okay, let there be light. God has made provision for light. It's left for PHTN to give us light or not. So it's not a question of God factor anymore. It's a question of a working system. Today when I was coming to the studio, just to buttress what you said, somebody knocked on my window and he was like, he was begging for arms. And I said, you know what, go and collect your PVC and vote for the right candidate so you're not begging another 4 years. It felt cruel, but that was the truth, because a lot of us we are laid back in sentiment of religion. That, because this is happening, or because my pastor said, because this said. No, like she said, the barren woman, and some people don't even know if their husbands have issues. Exactly. Probably low sperm counts, or it's not even functional. But the heap of the blame is put on the woman. Oh, she's barren. Oh, she cannot produce. And a lot of things that just happens within the Christendom space. So it's quite sentimental and dicey for me.
We all should just be responsible for our faith. Our faith and the system of believing in what
you die, you're not going to die with your pastor.
May God lead us right. I think quickly, Marshall, I know you have something to say with this story, but let's quickly get the second trending story. Allow you give your submission. The second trending story that caught our attention is that of the Nigerian military that killed dozens of defenseless youths in Anambra. Marshall, let me come to you quickly. What's your take on this, if you want to say something on the first?
I just pray that the Nigerian police should investigate this properly. There's been one killing too many.
This is your institution.
Okay. There should be proper investigation. It's not a laughing matter, though. You see, the killings of civilians in the name or in the guise of reading the East with reading them from the secessionist movement or the secessionists is something that has come to light. That, look, these guys are using this thing as a guise to perpetrate some kind of evil. If we've seen them so active in the Southeast, why haven't they been that very active in the Northeast? You don't just go into, you know, civilized community and open fire at people. Do we have the concrete evidence that these guys are members of the ESN? And even if they are, shouldn't they be arrested? If you happen to know where they are, shouldn't they be rounded up and arrested and then prosecuted? You know, is there a death sentence that has already been declared on anybody shoot at sight if you see any ESN? So I think there's so much crime being perpetrated here, and I'd like to call for investigation, the appropriate authorities. And then for the Tithing, it's good to see Pastor Creflo Dola come out with that kind of declaration. I mean, I can only say that you are what you believe. I am encouraged by Kike, you know, the way you took to attaching sentiments to Tithing and attaching what happens to you in the course of your life to not being efficient or effective or committed in your faith. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in the spiritual realm. There's a life beyond just this physical. So yes, you should attach anything that happens to you in the physical to the supernatural. I agree with that. But whether or not it should be tied to your tithe or offering, I do not know. As for Creflo Dola, those who would believe in what he has said would believe in him. It doesn't change anything about the doctrines, or I mean the preachings and the administrations that he's done in the past. I do not think we should throw away the baby with the bathwater entirely. You should always, even from your pastor, when you sit down on Sunday, you should take what you think is very valid from what the minister of God is giving to you.
Masha.
So for me, I stick with Tithing.
May God lead us right, you know, in all of this. Everybody have their own perspective of looking at things. But, you know, back to the second trending story, I just want to start by saying that NSAS is still fresh. And yet, this is great calamity that we have on our hands. And according to reports, I know that the soldiers were said to have been mobilized from Ogbaru Naval Base and Onisha itself, I think with over 300 troops and regiments in over 20 trucks with arms and ammunition. And I'm wondering, what kind of country is this really? I don't want to start by saying, why am I Nigerian again? But because all these things actually is something that is, you know, it's very scary. They were said to have targeted defenseless, will I say, locals, you know, mainly young male, and opened fire on them at a close range and killed dozens of people. The people they have killed are the future of Nigeria, future of the children of tomorrow. And I'm asking myself, is this the narrative of reports that we actually want to keep reporting every now and then? Look at our On This Day in History segment. This again has gone into On This Day in History segment. Is that the kind of narrative we want to leave for our children, our unborn children? I'm sure that the Nigerian military will have a different story entirely, saying the killing was not, you know, happened in Eastern, whatever, IPOB militants and all sorts. Who exactly are we to believe? Because I just feel that there are many sides to many stories that are being put out there now, and we don't know where the verification of truth should come from, because those who are supposed to be the one to share more light on certain issues like this are also the ones trying to manage the truth. However, in cases like this, I feel that it's all collateral damage and it's never avoidable. However we look at it, the innocents who suffer along with the criminals are also, is unfortunate that they have to be there. Yoruba people will say that the day that you interpret
the day that the road is hungry, may God not let us walk there.
So one thing is for sure, that the IPOB and the ESN have their own grievances, but they have taken laws into their hands wrongfully. We can't also deny the fact that, you know, the gunmen and the criminal assistants all over the southern east states live within the community where they are at the moment. Hence the reason why there are a lot of challenges that we are facing. I just pray that all of this can come to an end, and may God just save us. And from Moses, who wants to start running commentary, I don't know if I can hear him properly. Guys, it's time for me to call out Moses on my social media platform. But you need to see the guy behind the Real Talk with Kike. All right, with that, we've come to an end of Real Talk with Kike. For those of us who are eating the road, I pray that we return and come back safely. To my co-hosts, you guys, Yeah, awesome. You're the real talkers. Masha, oh God, you smell really
Husband.
nice today. The cologne was really, so I don't know if you changed your cologne.
No,
but
it's the same cologne.
Which soap did you use to bath today?
And of course, many thanks to Dr. Okoye Festus for creating time to be on the show today. Remember to put a smile on anyone that come across your path. And bye for now.